If you want to stay in the same situation, then continue doing what you're doing.
And you guys can get on board and go down this 4-lane highway and just rock it out, and you don't have to have a decade of learning process.
Meet people where they are. If you want to have all types of clients, be a Rubik's Cuber. Meet them where they want to be met.
We have to know our numbers. We have to know how much we want, and then how many deals do I have to close to make that a reality?
What I want to do over the next half hour or so is give you clarity on the items that really are going to generate money for you and allow you to do the things you want to do. So
if you're not currently being coached by the people in the industry that are doing it at the highest level, then you're working too hard to get there.
This is the Next Level Loan Officers Podcast with Kenneth Travis and Sean Zalmanoff.
Hello, everybody. Sean Zalmanoff here with Next Level Loan Officers, and we are joined by the John Abraham. John, how are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. So for those of you all who don't know John, he's been in the industry pushing 3 decades right now. He has been a top originator for well over 2 of those decades. You've probably seen him advertise, and maybe you've had the pleasure of seeing him speak on the mortgage tour and other places. So John, you've been doing loans for a little bit of time now, and you just have a killer, amazing origination business. I'll brag about you here for just a little bit longer. So right now, in terms of other loan officers in the country, you're ranked number 35 in units. And a fellow Midwesterner, John is from Peoria here. I'm from St. Louis. We all love our Midwesterners here. Right. Ranked number 136 in units. So I'm sorry, 136 in volume and 35 in units. That's a lot of units. So folks listening to this isn't some people from some of those places in the country that, are ranked in the top 50 that have $1 million+ loan size. John, what's your average loan size?
Unfortunately, it's about 125.
So you're cranking out a few units a year, huh? What does that translate into? What does it take to be number 35 in units in the country?
As far as how much volume you mean, or
no, yeah, what's what number of units is that you're doing?
Normally I'll be around 400, 400 to 500. Last year was a little bit down, but 18 was tough for everybody. And so I'm still whining about it, still complaining that I did not have the kind of year in 18 that I was used to having. But I normally will be in that 400 to 500 range. Had times when it was quite a bit more than that, and typically never less than 350 in units.
So how long have you been at the level of production where you consistently ranked in the Scotsman Guide, just been having the amazing business that you've had? How many years and consecutively has that been?
21 or 20, actually. I cracked back then it was Mortgage Originator magazine, the MOM list. And I think I cracked that in 98, both in units and dollars, and have pretty much stayed consistently. That publication is no longer in existence.
Yes.
But then Scotsman kind of took its place, I think. And so between Mortgage Originator magazine and Scotsman since 1998, typically units and dollars every year. Although there have been a couple of years, probably more recently, that it's just been units. The dollar stuff's getting tough to compete with on some of the coasts.
It is, when those average loan sizes are 5+ times what you're cranking out there.
Yeah.
So what has been the keys to success? How does somebody go and first of all, how do you get to being a top originator? And then how do you stay there for 20+ years?
A big part of it is not ever being complacent, never resting on your laurels. This is an industry that it's very easy to have a great month or a great year and then kind of kick back and say, well, I'm not going to work so hard anymore. I had a great month last month, or I had a great year last year. So I'm going to go ahead and coast a little bit and kind of forget about doing the things that got me there. And so I don't ever let my foot off the gas. I literally am constantly prospecting, looking for ways to grow my business. If I lose a realtor happens to retire or move, I immediately try to replace that realtor with a new realtor. My business is pretty heavily realtor driven, but I literally look at it. I don't let my foot off the gas. I'm not going to be complacent. I'm not going to assume that because I had a good year last year that this year is going to be good. I'm not going to stop doing the things that got me to that level. So it's just a constant, it literally is just constantly staying consistent in doing the things that got me there.
So what does your day look like? How many hours are you putting in a week?
It's much better now. When I was growing my business and trying to get into that top 200, I literally worked myself to death. I let every client know that I was available every evening and every weekend and Sundays. And of course, if you offer that to customers, then that's where they're going to schedule their appointments for. And if you're trying to balance your family and personal life, you have to be a little bit careful because this industry can literally take over your life. And I let it for quite a long time. I was just so sucked up into chasing the next deal and wanting to be successful that I think I lost that sense of good balance. And now I finally it took me years to have the confidence in myself to believe that I'm the expert and my time is valuable. And if people want to come see me, they can typically come see me during relatively close to business hours. That doesn't mean that I still won't stay in the evening and take care of somebody if they've got a crazy schedule and need a 6 or 7 o'clock at night appointment. And the same with Saturdays and even Sundays. But those are a lot more limited now. I learned that, typically people can adjust their schedule to hopefully still come in at a reasonable time to meet with me so that I can still have a life outside of the mortgage industry.
So when you decided to do that for your family, did you lose clients? Did you lose realtors because you weren't available 24/7 anymore?
I didn't. You know what? I think when you market yourself as an expert and somebody who's been successful, people want to do business with people who they think are successful. And so I think it really didn't hurt at all. I was scared to death that it would. And I finally took that leap of faith of saying, you know what, I kept going to all the seminars with all the top people in the industry, the Todd Duncan seminars and those guys talked about controlling your schedule and being seen as the expert in our industry. And so I finally got the confidence to think, you know what, I can take a little bit better control of my schedule, and people are still going to want to come see me, and it's worked out really well.
It's nice. It's nice to be on the other side of that, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, for all of you listening right here, I mean, we don't need to ask John another question. We can end this podcast right now. If there's one thing that you can do, if you take control of your schedule and make yourself available when it works for you, you can have the work-life balance that you want, and you can really still impact people's lives and be a top 50 originator in the country. So, John, thanks. So we're not going to end it there, but we could. That would be enough if everybody would just implement that today. So I know one of the big things that has created success for you over the years is your fostering of relationships, and not just with the realtors and clients that you work with, but with your team as well. So, culture is the $1 million, $1 billion buzzword in every facet of industry these days. So how have you created that?
We really, between the assistants that I have and the loan processors and the closers, I really try to create a family team type concept. And the people who support me and who really are the reason behind my success have to feel that they're an important part of the journey, and that I care deeply about them. I care deeply about the well-being of them and their families. I want them to prosper financially. So typically I don't make decisions unless it's also good for them. I may get offers to go to a different company that could be personally really beneficial for me. But if it's not beneficial for the people in ops, I don't go. I don't even entertain the idea. And I think they know that I have their back, and that I'm going to do everything I can to ensure that they have a great career, that they enjoy their job, that they have time with their families, but that financially that it's going to be better for them. I want them to prosper. I want them to feel good about coming in. So there's just been it's a family, we're a team. Many of us that work for me have been with me for 15 or 20 years. Wow. And when I made a move, they all moved with me. We always kept the band together, and it's really satisfying and rewarding. But I let them know constantly how important they are and how valuable they are, whether that's with just thank yous and praising and patting them on the back, or sometimes presents or financial reward when they've done something really well or we've had a good month. but they certainly need to feel appreciated and know that they're part of the journey.
And how do you do that with your clients as well?
Clients, I obviously use CRMs, to keep my name and face in front of my past clients. My clients just know that I'm going to take good care of them, like most of us do. I tell them they're my client for life, or they're in my client for life program, and I continue to market to them as the years go on. Now at the point where I'm doing my clients' children's loans, so that's when you start knowing you've been doing this for a while, and just consistently trying to stay in touch with them, providing exceptional service, genuinely letting them know that you care, that you're their financial expert, but that you deeply care also about what's best for them. And you can just see that in the way I talk to them, the way that I treat them, the way that I thank them over and over again for allowing me to take care of their business. I don't take it for granted. I'm constantly thanking them for the opportunity to let me take care of their mortgage needs. And same with my realtor partners. I constantly tell them how grateful I am that they're my business partner, and how fortunate I am, and that how blessed I am that they trust me. And I think you can see that just in the way that I interact with them.
Yeah, I appreciate you are three pretty powerful words to tell somebody on a consistent basis.
Mm-hmm.
You were telling me before that you were in competitive bodybuilding for some time, and that was one of the main strategies of how you built your mortgage business. So the world wants to know, what does competitive bodybuilding have to do with it? And just a note, competitive drug-free bodybuilding, because I know that was really important for you.
Yeah.
How does that work and coincide with building a mortgage business and being top 100 in the industry for so long?
I definitely grew up the kid getting the sand kicked in their face on the beach. I was really shy. I didn't have a lot of self-confidence, horribly skinny. And to top it off, I was not very tall. I'm like 5'7". So I just didn't have that real physical presence about me where I felt good about myself. Fortunately, I stumbled into bodybuilding. A buddy and I were at a drive-in movie theater back when they had drive-in movies. And we were on a double date and got beat up that night. Actually, it was just one punch, and we both went down. And I got up the next morning and said, that's it, I'm going to join a gym. And I need to do something to feel a little bit better about myself. And so I went to a health club and signed up and said, I want to get big and have muscles and feel more confident about my body. And within about a month, I fell in love. I all of a sudden started to watch my body change, and I started to realize, gosh, this is something that I have control over. I can change. It's something about me that I can change if I put the hard work in. And so as the years went on, people at the gym started coming up to me and saying, wow, you've really got a great physique, which was really strange to me when you grow up really shy and not very confident about your body, and then people start coming up and complimenting you on it. It's almost like giving you a shot of heroin. I was just like, wow, are they talking about me? But they all started saying, hey, you know what, you really should think about doing some competitions. And I was very dedicated to not using steroids. Back then in the 80s, steroids were becoming very prevalent. And I didn't want to go down that path. I thought, if I'm going to do this for my health and to look and feel better, what's the point of using anabolic steroids? So I stayed what we call the natural path. And what happened was I learned from bodybuilding, especially when you're getting ready for a competition, is that you have to be focused. You have to be disciplined. You have to have goals that you set. You have to show up. You have to ask other people in the gym how they became successful. We used to use a thing in bodybuilding called visualization. So you would be in your mind over and over again, you would imagine yourself on stage being handed the first place trophy. So, if you believe it, you can achieve it. And so all of those things is what I had used. I didn't know anything about the mortgage industry at the time, but I started learning all those skills to compete in bodybuilding and what it took to be successful. So then when I got into the mortgage industry, I started thinking to myself, gosh, this is really the same. It's certainly much different, but how can you be a successful bodybuilder, and how does that translate into being a successful mortgage originator? Well, you've got to be focused. You've got to be disciplined. You've got to set goals. You have to have passion and dedication. You got to show up, and then you have to ask other top originators, how did they become successful? And so I thought, this is really easy. I already know what to do because I did it to compete in bodybuilding. If I do the same exact thing in mortgage lending, how could it not work? And if you think about it, those are the same basic skills in mortgage origination that you have to be able to do. So you got to show up. You can't stay home and lay on the couch or go play golf or play Candy Crush or be on Amazon all day. You got to show up, and then
do the work.
You got to do the work, and you got to ask. I went to every seminar I could when I was new in the industry because I wanted to know, how are the guys at the top achieving that type of success? What are they doing? And so and I learned that from bodybuilding because I used to go up to the guys at the gym and say, gee, how did you build your arms? How did you make your chest so big? What did you do? And it was exactly the same in the mortgage industry. All those same things, the goal setting. I used to tell my originators, imagine yourself on stage at the company President's Club trip being handed your award for, being one of the top producers in the company, and do that, every day. Picture yourself on stage getting handed your award for being a top producer, and same thing as getting handed a trophy on the stage for bodybuilding.
It's funny. So many people come to us in Next Level, and it's like, we want the strategies. I need the silver bullet. I want to know what's going to take me, to the next level. How do I get there? And although we have a lot of tips and strategies, if people are not doing the work and you're not putting in the time and you can't visualize how you're getting there, like the mindset of bodybuilding, the mindset of mortgage origination is a good, 50% of the battle every single day?
Absolutely.
And people just, there is no silver bullet. I mean, you got to put in the work, and, especially in a non-steroid environment. I mean, I can't even imagine how hard that was to avoid all of that temptation when, they were basically, in the 80s, those were like vitamins, right? The way they were being handed out. It was no big deal. So amazing that getting punched once in your life change the trajectory of your health, your physical health, your mental health, and put you on a career path that you had no idea was even going to happen at that point.
Right. Exactly true. And if I always tell my originators, and I do this when I speak in Vegas, if you're home taking a nap during the day, or you're playing on the internet, or playing Candy Crush, or shopping, or playing golf, someone out there is working harder and smarter than you are. And so there's always someone out there that's looking for ways to grow their business and working a little harder than you are. So I always keep that in mind, is that, I want to be towards the top of my game. And so that I'm not going to just sit back and goof around all day.
So now that you are at the top of your game, you've been here for so long, what's the future hold for you, John?
I don't anticipate much changes. I just love this industry. You couldn't drag me out of here kicking and screaming. It's blessed me beyond belief, not only financially, but just from the satisfaction of being able to build an amazing legacy. And so I'm just going to keep doing what I do. I don't foresee any big changes. It's just continuing in the day-to-day grind and not letting my foot off the gas.
But you were, I know that you do some unique marketing with packets that you do for your agents and your buyers. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about, some of the secrets that you put inside of there that, and what benefit you get from it.
Yeah. So I'm pretty old school. When you've been doing this a long time and you develop some things that work, I stick with it. And so I developed over the years a home buyer's kit, or a home buyer's marketing packet. And it really just contains some things that I developed myself, some things that I borrowed and tweaked from being at seminars, but just contains things that I think a potential home buyer would find really helpful. And the other reason I do it is it differentiates myself from the competition. And the reason I know that is my customers tell me, because they come in and they say, gee, we talked to 3 lenders and you're the only one that sent us something that they perceived of value. Now I make it sound like it's a really big deal. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to send you this really cool packet in the mail. It's got lots of helpful information in it about buying a home and getting a loan. And then I get them excited about it, and then I follow up with them. So after I send the packet, then I'll wait about a week, and then I'll follow up and make sure they got it to see if they have any questions. Did they get a chance to look through it? Now, what's in the packet, there's nothing magical in it, but there are just little things that I think if I was buying a home that I would find very useful. So there are house hunter checklists in there. It's a way for the client to go out and rate different houses when they look at them with their real estate agent. So it's their own journal. They can mark down the property address, the asking price, how many square feet, how many bedrooms and bathrooms, write down the utility bills, how much are the property taxes, and then go through and rate all the different features and the amenities of the home, whether they're good, fair, or poor. So at the end of the day, when they've looked at 10 houses with their real estate agent, they have their own little journal that they can go back and look at, because it's really hard to remember, some of the specifics, and these houses start blending together. So that's in the packet. They get like 7 or 8 home buyer or house hunter checklists, we call that. I have a sheet in there that says, why are my credit scores different than what you pull? And it explains to them the difference between what they may see on Credit Karma or their Discover card, and why it's a completely different model when we go ahead and pull credit. So that kind of helps vent that question that you get when they do tell you that why your score is so much different than what they thought they had. There's a thing in there called helpful hints for home buyers, and it's a reminder of what they should be looking for. I don't expect them to be a home inspector, but it tells them what they should look for when they look at the roof, the chimney, the downspouts, the gutters, the foundation, just some basic things that they can be aware of when they're out walking around looking at a home. I have what else do I put in there? There is understanding your credit score, and what are the 5 main components that make up their credit score. The consumer needs to know that, because that's all we talk about. All we tell them is the first thing we tell them is what their score is. Yeah. And so they need to know why they have a score that they do, and what components factor into developing the credit score that they have. So that's in the folder. There are some flyers I put fun things in there, 50 things. I live in Peoria, Illinois. So I went to the Chamber of Commerce website and got 50 things to do in Peoria. So when somebody's new moving into town, there's a flyer in the packet that tells them some of the fun things that we have going on in the city, and what they can look for as far as activities for their families and themselves. And then let me think, I have some flyers in there about first-time buyer programs and any grants that we may have. FHA, VA flyer. There's trying to think what else I put in there. There's a personal brochure about me. And I'm real big on putting my picture and my face everywhere. And it talks about why you should use an experienced loan originator. What are the advantages of dealing with somebody who's experienced? And so there's a personal brochure. There's my team flyer. So they also get to know who my assistants are, who my loan processor is. So they know exactly everybody's role and who they can call, and that we're all a team, and that they can call any one of us when they need something. But they get a kick out of this packet, and there's a do's and don'ts in there. There's a checklist about don't quit your job, don't transfer money without proper documentation. So there's a don't go out and make any major purchases during the process. So there's a do's and don'ts checklist, and then they show up and they come back to their appointment with me, and they always have the packet with them. And I can see a lot of times there's notes written on them. I can see their little house checklist. But what's more important is they tell me, they're like, John, you're the only person that sent us anything. We talked to this bank, or we talked to this mortgage company, and they told us on the phone what we qualify for, and maybe we scribbled it down on a piece of paper. But no one else sent us a nice packet in the mail. The packet's nothing magical, but I just want to differentiate myself a little bit from the competition. And my assistant, if I can get your name and phone number and address when I talk to you on the phone, you're going to get a packet from me. And then you're going to get a follow-up call. So my poor assistant, we probably send out 30 or 40 a week. She has to constantly, because if I talk to you, you're going to get a packet, even if you don't seem interested in being sure if you're at the point where you want to commit to going with me for your mortgage. I want to make some kind of connection to you. So if it's just a home buyer packet, at least I have your name and address and phone number, and I'll follow up and call you, and I don't want you to get away. I don't want you to sliver off to another lender that your real estate agent might recommend, or that a friend or coworker might tell you to go talk to this person.
No, it's amazing. Giving somebody something of value. There's some chemical reaction that happens in our brain as a human that says, John gave me something. I owe John something now.
Yes.
And, I thought you were going to stop after the first 2 or 3 things you rattled off in there, and you rattled off another 6 or 7 items that you put inside of there. That is a great tool to use that somebody could borrow. Your idea.
I share it. I've had, when I spoke at Mastermind, I think I had about 200 people that wanted a copy of the packet, which was fine. I don't mind sharing with if it helps someone else become successful, because success breeds success. We're all better if we help each other grow. So I don't mind sharing what these packets, I mail them still. It's really old school. I don't email them the packet. I want still them to physically get it in their mailbox and have to open it. But I send out, I'd say probably 30 a week.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't need a copy of John's packet. John just told you everything that was inside of there. Lock yourself in a room for 3 days or for 3 hours and put this together. It's not going to be that hard. You can go to Fiverr and get a couple flyers done for yourself if your company doesn't do that or can't provide that for you. It is not rocket science at all. But man, I was just thinking about getting all of those things and having a checklist of the do's and don'ts, being able to write down all of the property information. And I can only imagine what that then does when you're working with a buyer and you don't know that buyer's agent.
Right.
Let me see, what did John give you? What is all this stuff?
That's exactly what happens.
Yes.
Exactly what happens.
So I have one more question for you. So you've been in the business for 29 years now.
Yeah.
Going back in, those first few years in the business, if you were an originator today in 2019 and you were just starting over, you didn't have these years of experience in the business, definitely, you had your bodybuilding experience, and so you're disciplined and knowing what to do. What would you tell, an originator who is only doing 3 or 4 or 5 loans a month, or, there's quite a few originators out there that have 10 years experience, or at least been doing this for 10 years that are doing 3 or 4 or 5 loans a month. What would you tell them to do right now, today, to change their life? And maybe they don't want to be a top 100 originator, but just to change the trajectory of their family, being able to close 10 or 15 loans a month.
Exactly. And, it's so different now than it was back then. So if you've been around the industry for a long time, when I got into the business, no one knew anything about how to teach you how to go out and get business. And it's really embarrassing to think back, but we all did the showing up at real estate office with rate sheets. And we literally walked up and down the aisles, and you passed out a rate sheet and you passed out your business card. And there'd be someone behind you from another company walking behind you, passing out their rate sheets. And then it really was bad if their rates were better than what you had on your sheet, because we were just outselling price. And no one taught us anything differently. There was nobody that told me what to do. They just said, here's your business cards, go out and start trying to generate business. So I had heard that people were printing rate sheets and going to real estate offices and passing rate sheets out. And so that's what I did. And surprisingly, it actually worked fairly well back then. I think at least you were consistently showing up at a real estate office and bumping into realtors, and you would stumble across a few deals just by being there. But nobody does that anymore. And lots of real estate companies have an in-house lender already. So you can't get past the front desk a lot of times. So it's much more difficult. But I think you have to differentiate yourself and teach people why they should want to do business with you. What's different about you personally, and what's different about the company that you represent? What's your unique selling proposition? And so why should somebody do business with you rather than the company across the street? So you have to have your script, and you have to have a plan to tell people why should you do business with me? What's different about me, and what's different about my company? And you got to be able to. I defend my company and tell all the great things about it. and what makes us different than, let's say, a bank or a credit union. And I tell everybody, you know what, the only thing we do is mortgage lending. And so if that's our only source of revenue, we better do it really well. We're not generating deposits like a bank may do. We're not getting checking accounts or selling credit cards. So if we're only doing mortgage loans and that's our only way we make money, we better be really good at it. And then I think you just have to go out and you have to make realtors fall in love with you. It's just like courting. You've got to make them fall in love with you. I teach my originators, you got to kiss them until their lips are chapped. And whether that's a real estate agent or a client, they got to like you and trust you and feel comfortable with you and know that you got their back in order for them to want to do business with you. Who wants to do business with someone they don't like or they don't trust or that comes across arrogant or cocky or not very caring? So I just teach my originators to go out and win people over. Tell your story, tell our story about our company, and then tell your individual story why they can count on you. It isn't that difficult, but it takes some persistence.
It does take persistence, and it was really you like speaking our words exactly that we talk about at Next Level all the time. It's about the know, like, and trust. But if you don't know that value proposition, then you can't build the know, like, and trust, because somebody says, well, why should I use you? And you just stumble over your words. I talk about it with my loan officers all the time. Like, let's know it, hammer it out. I mean, this should be something that rolls off your tongue so smoothly in 45 seconds because you know what you bring to the market. And it doesn't roll off your tongue smoothly in a salesy way. It rolls off like it's who you are. It's what you wake up being every single morning. And knowing that and knowing what you bring to the market is just a game changer when you understand that. And the cool thing with technology today, there's all kinds of apps. You can record it on BombBomb and send it to a manager, or do a Marco Polo that we do a lot with little just video messaging, where we can send it back and forth between each other and practice. Practice is another key word that everybody in the mortgage industry really needs to understand. There are few industries, if any, on the planet that you can close as many transactions as we can in a year, make as much money as we can per transaction, and yet so many loan officers practice on the playing field. Love him or hate him, Tom Brady does not take is not throwing the ball to Rob Gronkowski for the first time on the playing field. They have thrown that ball hundreds and hundreds and thousands of times in practice to get those routes right. So you need to take the time and invest in yourself and practice and make sure you knock those out.
Absolutely.
John, is there anything else that you'd like to share, any parting words with people listening or watching us today?
We're so blessed to be in this industry. I mean, imagine all the other things you could be doing, and yet we have this opportunity to provide ourselves, first of all, to get someone in a home, that's life-changing in itself. And no matter whether there's a great financial component to it, but there's nothing better than being at the grocery store or the gas station and somebody said, hey, there's the guy that got us our house. And for me, that literally is what it's all about. And my kids will say, gee, Dad, we can't go anywhere when we don't run into someone that you didn't do a loan for. And I just beam, it makes me proud. My chest puffs out. I love helping people achieve home ownership. It's the greatest thing they'll probably ever do, and the greatest purchase, of course, that they'll ever do in their life. And so beyond all of that, I just make people feel like they're the most important transaction of my day, my week, my month, my year. Nothing else matters except that customer who's across the desk from me and helping them achieve their dream of owning a home. It's the coolest thing ever. And then all the other great perks of financial freedom and, being able to provide for our family. And, we have a lot of flexibility in this career. Nobody's bird dogging us, punching a clock or anything. So those are all come secondary. And if you care deeply about helping people, the rest just falls right into place.
Yes, it does. John, thank you so much for your time today. What a pleasure, and so much knowledge that you shared with everybody today. For those of you who listen all the time, for those of you listening for the first time, we encourage you to stay in the conversation with us here at Next Level Loan Officers. You can text Next Level to 36260 and download our app. Many of our other podcasts are on there, events that we have coming up, which our next big live event will be in July of this year. More details to follow there, and we appreciate you all. Hope you have a great day. Thanks again, John.
Thank you very much for having me.